Chamber Chat, the African American Chamber of Commerce's own Spotlight podcast, where we have two chamber members sit down for real conversation. Emphasis on real. I'm your host, Eric Kearney, and today's episode is about origin stories. We have Crystal Kendrick of Voice of Your Customer.
Yes, hello.
And Christina Moss of Moss Financial.
Hello, world.
Okay, so let's get started with an icebreaker question. What's the worst business advice you have ever received?
You know, I can start with this.
Say, this is Christina.
Sorry. This is Christina, and I'm going to start with not doing it at all.
Oh,
I've had
that's
people
interesting.
going, yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to start a business? Don't do that. And that's been the worst advice that I've ever received.
Okay, so you say, I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Amen.
I think this is Crystal Kendrick at the Voice of Your Customer, and I started my business almost 20 years ago. And the worst advice I received was, go ahead and start a business. It's very easy to get a loan, an SBA loan, or any other kind of loan. Just start your business and you can get a loan and grow. And that's not exactly how things happened for us. We were blessed to be able to grow, but it certainly was not through any easy means of gathering of obtaining a loan or getting operating income.
Okay, now I've got another question, which this one's an interesting way of phrasing the question, but I want you to think it through. Rose, thorn, bud. So describe one win, one challenge, and one thing you're excited about right now.
This is Christina again, and I thought about this long and hard. I've been kind of going through these questions, and to be quite honest, one win is that I'm creating legacy. I'm the first of my family to do all of these things. The first one to graduate college, the first one to get a certification, first one to start a business. So that's a win,
Yes.
not only for me, but for the people in my family that's following in my footsteps. So that's my one win.
Mm-hmm.
My one challenge is doing this from grassroots because I don't have that legacy. I am the first of in my family to do this, and so that's the challenge, being able to learn and grow and know how to run business when I don't have a blueprint. So I'm creating a blueprint as I'm going along. So that's been the challenge. And the one thing I'm excited about right now is that I finally pulled the trigger on working with Mortar. So I'm very excited to be going through their 15-week program. So kudos to me. I'm very excited. We had our first introduction a couple of days ago, and there's some really great people in the room. So I'm excited to be working with them. And my SCORE mentor is awesome. So I'm very excited to be working with him too.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Okay.
that's exciting.
Okay, do you want me to repeat the question, Crystal, or do you?
No, you said a rose,
A thorn, and a bud.
And a bud. All right. So for me, I think the rose right now is that I feel that local Black-owned businesses have more support, more vocal and visual support than we've had in the past. That's not to say that the organizations weren't there to help us, but we are now, I believe, taking advantage of more of these opportunities. There's a greater sense of community. There are more databases. There are more opportunities. A lot of that is thanks to the Chamber. The growing staff at the Chamber. This staff, you must have 8 or 10 people by now, and that is, not by mistake, but by hard work and a commitment to growing our businesses. And so I believe that local Black-owned businesses are in a better place because the Chamber is here and other support services, Mortar and others, they are funded. They are they have staff that really know how to help us move our organizations forward, and so we're grateful for that. That's the rose. I would say the thorn is probably just so I'll speak specifically for my business. I did a lot of work with the federal government. And in years past, we've been in business for almost 20 years, and in years past, federal contracts were very good. They were solid. You could go to the bank and get a loan against them. They were, resourceful. They allowed you to grow incrementally. They had programs, all those things. And now the federal government spending has really cut back, and we've lost all of our federal contracts as they were not aligned with the current administration. Many of the nonprofits that we worked with lost their federal funding. So, just really pivoting in a different way has made it a bit of a thorn. And I would say the bud is that if I stick with the group of the challenges that we've had in doing business with government, is that there is still a DBE program. And I recently did some research and shared with some people in my network different ways to identify disparities that many of us had not thought about. Just living our lives every day, we didn't realize that so many of these things are actual documented disparities. And so I shared that information in hopes that myself and many others will be able to obtain and sustain a DBE certification based on these, true disparities that many of us overlooked just as life. Mm-hmm. It's just a part of life. And then when you do research, you see just how disadvantaged we were. So it was kind of an eye-opener for me, and I'm hopeful that we will all be recertified and that we can continue to do work with government agencies as we had.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have another icebreaker question, the third one. What's a skill that you had to learn the hard way?
Yes.
Okay, so a skill I had to learn the hard way is generative AI.
Ah, okay. That's good. That's a hot topic.
That's a hot topic, and for me, I just couldn't envision. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I know all the things that I need to know to do my job. I still want to learn new ways of doing my job and how to stay relevant, but this whole new technology was introduced to me by young people on your staff. And if you don't have younger people in their careers, in your network, on your staff, in your circle, I encourage you to do so. My teams introduced me to this technology, and I just couldn't really imagine how different it was than traditional internet search, command versus converse, and all the things that artificial intelligence can do. And if you use it in a smart way, mm-hmm. and you use it ethically, and you use it to refine your work, not to do your work, I feel like you can have some advantages. But it took me losing a couple of RFPs. It took me, just really not standing out the way some other people had been standing out through their use of AI to learn it. And now I'm fortunate enough to teach it to others, right? I teach it to small businesses. Yesterday I taught it to older adults. But generative artificial intelligence, as much as many of us do not like it, is probably here to stay. I do not believe that we are going to be able to turn the tide on how we use it. We have to figure out how to use it. But I will never forget the owner of the Dallas basketball team.
Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, what's his name? He's a multi, I
yeah.
can see his face. Somebody will call and tell me. But
right.
Anyway, he's a very smart person, and he said one of the, Cuban?
Cuban.
Okay, Mark
Cuban.
Cuban. Okay, there we go. He said one day that, as we start to accumulate more billionaires and trillionaires, he said it's probably going to be a person working in their basement, using generative AI. And I thought to myself, wow, well, I don't know that'll be me, but if it can certainly help me in a day, that helps. And so what I have learned is it really hasn't cut out the work that I have to do. Mm-hmm. It helps me work smarter.
Oh.
It helps me with gap analysis. It helps me refine my thoughts. It's almost like having a, steel sharpening steel moment with you at all times. And I would encourage people to learn how to use it, to learn how to use it ethically, to learn how to use it affordably. And if you do that, your life will just pivot a little. Pivot.
That's really good, Crystal.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so for me, the skill is the follow-up.
Okay.
So as in my profession, in my industry, it's accounting's a hard sell. People don't call me unless they really need me. And so to be able to get in front of those people, proactively and say, hey, you kind of need me. But then being able to follow up if I meet somebody, if I go to an event, A lot of times, because I'm still very solopreneur, I would drop the ball. And then a couple of months later, now they're kind of in a rut, and now they're calling me back. And so now I got more work ahead of me. So I'm learning that skill the hard way, follow up. And so follow up then becomes, well, how do you organize? How do you make sure that you are touching these leads, that you're following up with everyone that you meet, regardless if they need you for a service or if they want to do a collaboration with you. I kind of probably dropped a few deals, not with the follow-up. So that's a skill that I'm learning, still learning. We're always learning how to follow up, but that's a skill that I'm trying to hone in on.
Okay. So now tell us a little bit about you and about your business and how you do what you do.
Okay. So again, Christina with Moss Financials. I am a CPA by trade. However, I always like to talk to people about mindsets, because we can talk about numbers all day, but if you're not thinking like a CEO, then those numbers really don't matter. And so I help CEOs make better decisions based on financial data. So accounting is the tool that we use, but the end result is, how are you looking at these numbers, and what are these numbers telling you, and then how can you grow your business with these numbers? What's your mindset? So I help CEOs, small business owners, with that. And of course, we do the transactional pieces, the compliance, the tax, the accounting, the full service bookkeeping, the full service accounting. But at the end of the day, it's what decision are you going to make as a CEO with the financial data that we have, the accurate financial data that we have. So that's what I do.
Okay. Now, this is the thing I want to say. We run into about 5,000, over 5,000 contacts a year, businesses. And I would say about 85% do not have an accountant. It's a very high percentage. So now, how does one engage an accountant? And why is there such a reluctance to retain one?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that question. I love this question. So accounting, first of all, you have to know me, you have to like me, you have to trust me. That's one thing. Secondly, you can't eat what I give you. You can't touch it. You can't use it. You can't eat it. You can't wear it. It's one of those intangible things that just happens to help you in the background. And so when people are first starting businesses, they use their dollars for things that they can touch, equipment and staff and marketing and all of these things, but they rarely come into our spaces until something happens. Someone's asking them for a tax return. They're trying to get a loan. They're trying to get a grant. They're trying to do something, and people are asking them, where's your 3 years of financial statements? And they're like, oh, what do I do then? And then they come back with all of this cleanup. Secondly, and this is one thing that I'm learning, is that people don't realize that there's a difference between the bookkeeper, the CPA accountant, and the tax preparer. Those are 3 different people. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I have an accountant. They do my taxes every year. So you mean to tell me you're only talking to this person once a year? What happens if something happened in March? You won't know about it until December? So part of my job is education. Like, I am education first, always. People have to I have to teach people why they need people like me. And put them in situations and create scenarios so that they understand, oh, you know what, that's probably right. You need us before, when you have the business idea, that's when you reach out to me. Don't reach out to me 6 years down the road when you've been trying to DIY it, and now we look at it and go, oh, this is wrong.
Okay. So now tell people your website and your telephone number so that they can reach out to you.
Absolutely. So you can reach me at mossfinancials.com. My phone number here is 513-327-8817.
Okay, great. Okay, so now, Crystal, if you would address the same question. So tell people what you do and who you are, a little bit about your background, and then how do you do what you do?
Absolutely. So I am Crystal Kendrick. I am president of The Voice of Your Customer. We are a market research firm that specializes in research, secondary research, data collection, such as focus groups and surveys, and then community outreach campaigns. I'm also the publisher of The Voice of Black Cincinnati, which is a media company designed to educate, recognize, and create opportunities for African Americans in the region. I've been in business for nearly 20 years. I can't believe that. It seems like it's been a lot less time than that, but it has been a wonderful journey. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to complete some of the most meaningful work around helping people of color and marginalized communities in our region. We've done projects with rare health diseases. We've done community health assessments. We've done research and recommendations on how to create wealth in the local Black community. So I'm really, really grateful for the work that we have had over the years and the impact that our work has had. And so most people contract with us if they need to do some secondary research, some primary research, such as focus groups and surveys, and then community outreach campaigns if you want to get the word out. And then in 2016, we created a new division within our company. It was called the Voice of Black Cincinnati. And it is a platform that we created really because at the time we were really struggling to get positive Black news stories out. They just weren't being picked up by a lot of mainstream opportunities, and we really struggled. So it was kind of like an influencer that started in 2016 before we had those words, and then we began to grow that mission. And so today we have about 100,000 social media followers, about 3.5 million monthly meta views. We have a newsletter with about 15,000 people. We have text messages with about 6,000 people. And we just are here to promote positive and meaningful information, and we hope that you follow us.
Okay, so please you've provided your websites, but maybe repeat those. And then how can people reach out to you? Would they use a telephone number or?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have started also helping some small businesses do their marketing and promotions. We've done that. So if you need some help with that, please let us know. But our contact information, our telephone number at the Voice of Your Customer is area code 513-281-3228. Again, that number is 513-281-3228. And you can reach us via email at info@thevoiceofyourcustomer.com. You can visit our website at www.thevoiceofyourcustomer.com. And we are right next door to the African American Chamber. So when you are here getting all of the important information and training that you receive from the Chamber, you can come visit us next door and we will talk to you as well.
Okay, so now do you want to talk about your life after 9 to 5, what you do with the arts community? Do you want to share that?
Sure. So I am pretty actively involved in the local arts and entertainment community because we have the pleasure of doing promotions for a lot of these events. And so I'm really, really an advocate for helping grow populations or grow attendance in the local arts community, especially diverse attendance. In the past 20 years or so, I've been a part of several boards and community committees and just initiatives to help increase diversity within the arts. And I will tell you, the reason that I got really started with the arts is really was for work. And I'll tell you why. When I was younger, I was very fortunate that I was exposed to the arts, but most of my life was exposed to Black art. Right? And Black art is wonderful art, but it was limited in my ability to engage with people beyond my community. And I remember being very young in my career, and you get your first job because you have the education. You get your second job because you did your first job well, quality work. But by the time you become that third level, that director or vice president or whatever it is in your industry, then it becomes a fit for the company. Right? It's a cultural fit. You have the mindset of the leadership, etc. And while I could talk shop all day, right? You give me a spreadsheet and a PowerPoint presentation, I could talk that all day. But when it came time to dinner, where they got to know you as a person, my lived experiences were very different than the people at the table. And so I did not have a lot to talk about. You often hear people say men talk about the locker room or sports. I wasn't really into sports and things like that. So the arts allowed me to bridge a gap with people who were different than me. And I share that because I encourage us as we're growing our businesses and we're growing our careers that we ensure that we can have like-minded conversations. And we've had these conversations before when we've had major networking sessions and we said, well, let's just get to know each other. And sometimes it can be a barrier because our experiences are different. We might live in different neighborhoods. We went to different schools. Our hobbies are different. Our friends are different. Our social media followers are different. Our political views may or may not be different. We had to come up with something that we could talk about. And arts was the thing for me. And I have friends today that I would have not had in my normal walk of life if I had not been involved in the arts. So the arts was what it was for me. For some, it's sports. For some, it's neighborhood. For some, it's whatever. But find your way to engage with people who are just a little bit different than you.
I love that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so one thing that this podcast attempts to do is to break down barriers. And one barrier that is very prevalent in the Black community is you will see a business owner and she or he will have the trappings of success, the trappings of, oh, wow, everything is perfect. And if you might know that person or if you understood their life story, you understand they may be successful today, but they went through hell before it. There were a lot of ups and downs. And as a community, we don't share enough. Hey, I got punched in the face, but I came back. I got back up. And so I'd like for you to each kind of share from your own experience a time perhaps where something went wrong for you in business and how you were able to bounce back.
Okay. Ooh, this is a lot. So because it seems like every year is a tough year,
Yes.
especially when you're growing. And every day we're learning something and we're meeting new people. I can probably say I've decided to stop this about 10 times. Like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to 9 to 5. What stops me from that is corporate kicked my butt. It was very, very challenging to be always the only one that looked like me in the space.
Now, where were you before?
Oh, I've been everywhere.
Okay.
I've had several companies. I've been in several businesses here. I've spent some years in St. Louis working and living there. And so every position that I've been in, I've been the only one that looks like me. And so that was very, very challenging. And that's kind of what pushed me kind of into this entrepreneurial space where I can just create my own. And so then the toughest part of it is a lot of times resources. Like, I need to know this. Where do I go to get this information? And then being able to have mentors, and people in my space. You may not know it, but Black CPAs make up 3% of all CPAs.
I wouldn't have guessed it to be that high, to be honest with you.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we're
So you're talking about CPAs, not accountants.
Yes.
And maybe explain to people the difference real quick.
Okay.
Just real quick.
Absolutely. So the CPA versus the accountant, you can go to school and get an accounting degree. The CPA takes a very heinous CPA exam. It is 4 exams. It usually takes anywhere from 8 months to 3 years to finish. And then you have to be, you have to be certified by your state. So it's a very, very, very rigorous, and they take us through all the things.
Yeah,
so
you
that
earn those 3 letters.
You will have to pull them from my cold, dead hands. So I think every year is tough in my business because I'm always learning something, and then AI comes along, and AI is great, but AI has taken our transactional work away. So now I'm going to have to pivot, and I've been pivoting. Thank goodness I did the pivot early. Well, now I'm have to do more advising because the AI can't really tell you what I can tell you, but the AI can make your debits and credits look okay. And so I have to, we're all having to pivot. And if you haven't pivoted early, a lot of smaller accounting and bookkeeping firms are losing because now we have QuickBooks that's taken over and all of these other softwares that will do the transactional piece for you, and then the education comes in and says, well, it's more than just knowing the numbers. It's more than transaction. What are you going to do with those numbers? So then that's when the advisory comes in. So the hardest piece of that is being able to tap into that market and learn how to talk to people. Because now you have to advise them on the numbers that the AI just generated and make sure that they're correct. So it's always tough to be able to pivot when the environment is changing the way you used to do business.
Okay. So give us how you rebound from a tough situation.
Prayer. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have been very much seeped in leaning on the Lord for peace, for guidance, for understanding. I try not to make a move until He whispers in my ear. And I realize that even in the tough season, I'm learning something. If I didn't go through the tough season, then I wouldn't be learning anything. And so I have to be thankful that even in tough seasons, I learned something. And then I can share that with someone else. I can share it with myself. I can share it with the person behind me. I always tell people I do not hoard information. You know what I know. You can never do what I do because I can only do what I do. I can give you all the information in the world. And so being able to just lean and have that guidance, and that's how I bounce back every single time. It's not man, it's not me, it's Him.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Crystal, please share.
Yes, well, it's tough to follow that. Okay, but I'll give it my best shot. I will say the toughest year that I had in business was 2025.
That was last year,
That
Crystal.
was last year. It was tough. It was coming down off of, the work opportunities that we had from which we benefited during the pandemic. If you remember, the federal government infused money into the economy. There were a number of workforce development initiatives that allowed us to employ and train individuals. There were opportunities for us to repair and fix up our office spaces. So I was able to take advantage of that. So things were great. And I also, going into 2025, had 3 very large federal contracts as well as multi-year contracts. Multi-year contracts to support the staff that I had brought on, the equipment, the facilities, all of these things that I had done. And then I also had several opportunities through grants, through nonprofits that were federally funded. So I was living the dream in 2024. And then came January 2025, and things changed. And 2025 brought a severe cutback in federal spending. It eliminated diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that gave us the opportunity. I won't say that it gave us the opportunity to do work. It gave us the opportunity to introduce the good work that we're already doing to people who weren't looking for it in the past. And they found value in doing things with us. And so those opportunities went away. We found that that just companies in general started holding back, just being very cautious of their spending. In addition, there came the onset of generative AI. And as you mentioned, people were starting to do things themselves. So the scope of our work would change. Right? So companies used to hire us to do, scoping and develop the survey instrument and facilitate the focus groups and write the report. Well, now they kind of just want you to look at the questions a bit, right? They've created some things. They want you to look at the questions, facilitate the sessions, and give them a transcript that they can then use different tools to. So the scope of our work really reduced. And I'm sure that may have happened to others. And then the other thing I will say, in addition to the bills that we created because we thought we had all this work, right? These long-term agreements with IT companies and software and, those were still in play. But the other thing I will say is that because the large federal government wasn't buying, we found that organizations, nationwide companies that were, looking at multi-million-dollar contracts with the federal government were now coming down looking at smaller contracts of $100,000 or less because they had so much extra capacity. So where before I was competing with other market research firms in the area, now I'm competing nationally. So all of those things happened to us in 2025, and it was a bit of a challenge. In 2026, we had to pivot, and that's the key word. And we were very, very fortunate to have the Voice of Black Cincinnati as a platform that was already established. And so we could use that platform to help sustain ourselves. And so my point to that is you really need to have multiple sources of income for your organization. We were also blessed throughout the pandemic to have acquired our office space, so now we have tenants. So we're making it, but we certainly aren't thriving. And so my message to you is, you have to be able to collect dollars and revenue and resources from a multitude of initiatives. For many years, most of our initiatives were federally funded. Today, we've diversified that. So I would encourage people to think about how you can diversify your customer base and or your opportunities so that when something happens, you have the ability to sustain yourself. And I learned very early on as an entrepreneur, and actually Vice Mayor Jan Michelle told me this. Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney told me this. Happens to be your wife. I want to use her formal name in business. But she said, being successful in business only means that you have enough credit when times are bad and that you pay down your debt when times are good. Right? She said, you're only as good as your line of credit, so keep it together. And my uncle taught me this. I don't know if anybody on this call remembers Uncle Milt and all of my uncles.
Sure.
That was my Uncle Milt. And he said, keep your expenses low. You have to keep your mandatory expenses low. And I've always done that. So when times got harder, I could go down to the bare minimum. And so when you talked about some other businesses having challenges, there's a myriad of different things from code enforcement to markets to the ability to get financing, et cetera. But you got to keep those expenses just as low as you just possibly can. So when times get tough, you can still sustain yourself.
Okay. Great advice.
Christian,
Okay.
you're talking my language.
Got to keep those expenses down.
Right. We've got a great accountant there. Okay, we're going to do lightning round.
Okay.
Lightning round. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then you just got to say the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? It's not a contest. Both people get to answer. Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
I think I'm morning and night. I'm not the afternoon too much.
Okay. There are two choices, Crystal.
Okay.
You got to be an owl or you got to be like a robin.
I'm a morning person. I'll say morning.
Or what a robin's in the morning, right? They
Well,
chirp and sing and everything.
So 12 a.m.
A.M. Okay. Okay. What is your go-to comfort food?
Pizza.
Okay.
Oh, I have a terrible sweet tooth. Anything with sugar.
Okay.
Anything with sugar.
Okay. Now, one song that gets you back in the zone.
He looked beyond my faults and saw my need. They just sang that this morning at the Heritage Breakfast. So
Okay.
you got me going today.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with a religious song because if I told you what it really was.
No, be real. That's the whole point of the podcast. Please.
Well, I will tell you that, I'm from Philadelphia. I was raised on East Coast hip hop. So, anything that was made from the East.
Okay, East Coast.
Yeah, around, maybe a Biggie song.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Now, Crystal, please share how people can get a hold of you, websites, phone, things like that.
Yes, I am Crystal Kendrick, the president of The Voice of Your Customer and the publisher of The Voice of Black Cincinnati. You can reach us via telephone at area code 513-281-3228. Again, 513-281-3228. Or you can visit our website at www.thevoiceofyourcustomer and thevoiceofblackcincinnati.com.
Okay, Christina Moss.
Hello again. So again, Christina Moss, owner and managing founder of Moss Financials, CPA firm here in the city. And you can reach me at my links page, which has all the information at explore.mossfinancials.com. And my phone number here at 513-327-8817.
Okay, do that website one more time.
Explore.mossfinancials.com.
Okay, so people make note of that. Okay, so that's a wrap for today's Chamber Chat. Huge thanks to our two very intelligent, very insightful guests. They shared some fabulous information, so I hope you were taking notes. Check out their businesses and please support them and support other members of the African American Chamber of Commerce. Until next time, keep building.